Most retirement plans are built around one central question. How much money do I need to retire? And that makes sense. If the numbers work, if the portfolio lasts, if the projections look solid, then retirement should work, right? But here's the issue. There's a far more important moment that almost no retirement plan clearly identifies, and missing it quietly changes how retirement actually feels. It's the point where retirement stops being about flexibility, stops being about optional decisions, and becomes more about rules, timing, and constraints. Taxes start to behave differently. Your income turns on whether you want it or not. Healthcare costs become tied to your income, and decisions that once felt adjustable suddenly feel locked in. Most people cross this moment without even realizing it, and by the time they feel it, when taxes rise, premiums increase, or income just feels harder to manage, the window to change direction has already narrowed. That moment is what I call the retirement breakpoint, and understanding where it is before you hit it can completely change how confident, flexible, and calm retirement feels. Hi, I'm Mark Wisniewski, president of Southern Incomes. I work with pre-retirees and retirees who did what they were supposed to. They saved consistently. They invested responsibly. They followed traditional retirement advice. But many of them were never shown where retirement planning actually changes direction. In this video, I'm going to explain the retirement breakpoint most plans never identify, why it matters more than your retirement number, and how recognizing it early can give you far more control over your taxes, income, and long-term peace of mind. If you find this helpful, like and subscribe. And if you want help identifying where your retirement breakpoint may be and what decisions matter most before and after it, you can book a time with me using the link in the description. Let's start by clearly defining what the breakpoint really is. Part 1, what a retirement breakpoint actually means. A retirement breakpoint, it's not a specific age, it's not the day you retire, it's not 62, 65, or 70, and it's definitely not when your net worth hits a certain number. A retirement breakpoint is the moment when your financial decisions stop being easily reversible. Before the breakpoint, you have flexibility. You control timing. You can experiment and adjust. You can undo or at least smooth out your mistakes. After the breakpoint, rules begin forcing income. Taxes become harder to manage. Healthcare costs react to income, and decisions become much harder to unwind. Most retirement plans assume flexibility is going to last forever, but it does not. And failing to recognize when it fades is what creates so much stress later on. Part 2, why most retirement plans completely miss this. Traditional retirement planning is built around accumulation, balances, rates of return, Monte Carlo simulations, probability of success charts. And those tools are very useful, but they focus on whether the money lasts, not how control changes. Most plans answer, will the money survive? They don't answer, when do my choices shrink? So retirees often arrive at retirement with enough money, they have those strong projections and clean spreadsheets, but far less flexibility than they expected. And that's not a failure to save. That's a failure to model the transition from choice to constraint. Part 3, what usually triggers the retirement breakpoint? The retirement breakpoint rarely happens because of just one event. It happens really because of several changes converging within a short window. Common triggers include required retirement account withdrawals, Social Security benefits turning on, more income becoming taxable, Medicare premiums reacting, income, loss of earned income flexibility, a future shift from joint to single tax filing. Individually, none of this feels overwhelming, but together, they fundamentally change how your retirement works. This is often when retirees say, I didn't realize how locked in this was going to feel. I thought I'd have more control than this. I didn't know these things were just going to stack on top of each other. That realization usually happens after the break point, not before. Part 4, the flexibility you have before the break point. Before the break point, retirement planning is mostly about choice and sequencing. You can choose when income starts, decide which accounts to draw from, manage how much taxable income shows up, smooth taxes across years, build buffers before those rules start forcing your withdrawals. This phase, often in the late 50s all the way through your 60s, is where planning has the highest leverage. But get this, it's also the phase where many people do the least or nothing at all. Why? Because nothing feels urgent, at least not yet. Taxes look reasonable. Income feels optional. The pressure hasn't arrived. The absence of stress creates this illusion that you have plenty of time. That illusion is very, very expensive. Part 5, what changes after the break point? After the break point, planning becomes reactive. Income is often forced. Taxes are harder to smooth. Healthcare costs rise with your income. Timing decisions are limited. You're no longer choosing the order of events. You're just responding to them. This doesn't mean retirement stops working altogether, not at all. But it does mean the range of good outcomes narrows significantly. Instead of asking, what's the most efficient move? Many retirees scramble and start asking, what's the least damaging option to me now? That shift is subtle, but it changes how retirement feels day to day. Part 6, why net worth stops being the right metric. One of the biggest mistakes retirees make after the break point is focusing on net worth. Well, net worth feels safe, it feels tangible, it feels, well, reassuring. But net worth doesn't tell you how taxable your income will be, how flexible your withdrawals are, how income behaves over time. What happens when one spouse passes away? Two retirees with the exact same net worth can experience completely different retirements. One may feel calm and in control, while the other may feel boxed in by taxes, premiums, and that forced income. After the break point, retirement success is less about how much you have and really more about how controllable your income is. Part 7, the emotional side of the break point. This is the part most people do not talk about. Crossing the retirement break point often brings emotional friction. People feel less confident than they expected, more cautious with their spending, more sensitive to headlines and to taxes, and more afraid of making what I would call irreversible mistakes. Not because they did something wrong, but because they were prepared for how quickly control could narrow. This is why some retirees with plenty of money still feel uneasy, while others with less feel calm and confident. It's that clearness that matters more than balance size. Part 8, how to identify your break point early on. The goal is not to avoid the retirement break point. Everyone eventually hits it. The goal is to see it early enough to be able to plan around it. A strong retirement plan should clearly answer, when does income become forced? When does tax flexibility decline? When do healthcare costs accelerate? Which decisions must be made before that happens? What does life look like for the surviving spouse? If your plan does not clearly show you where control shifts, it's incomplete. Awareness, while you still have options, is what changes outcomes. One of the biggest myths about retirement planning is that freedom automatically increases once you stop working. I wish it were the case. In reality, freedom often peaks well before the rules fully turn on, and by then it gradually narrows. That moment is the retirement breakpoint. The retirees who feel the most confident later on aren't the ones who guessed right or chased returns or perfectly timed the market. They're the ones who identified their breakpoint early on. They made deliberate decisions before that flexibility slid through their hands. If you're approaching retirement, newly retired, or simply want clearness on where your own breakpoint may be, this is one of the most important conversations you can have. If you'd like help stress testing your retirement income plan, not just to see if your money's going to last, but to understand when control shifts and what decisions still matter, you can book a time with me using the link in the description. That conversation isn't about selling products or predicting markets. It is about helping you make decisions while they're still yours to make. And that awareness can change everything.